Hi, thank you for joining me today. In this video, I'll be going over a new notebook setup for bullet journals. My name is Erica and I'm so glad you're here. I'm super excited because this is the debut video for This Heavenly Moment, which is a creative space for me to put whatever I'm making. We'll see what happens. The theme throughout this video is begin anywhere. And these words have been encouraging to me as I have been figuring out how to make my first bullet journal and my first YouTube video. I have this continual desire to create things, and I have all these ideas floating around in my head, but I don't always know how to bring them to life. So what I've been telling myself lately is, just begin with what you know, begin with what you love. I have always loved journaling since I was little. Whenever I experienced something new or went on a trip or something really sad or confusing, all these different emotions that I was facing, I just had a desire to put them down, and a journal was a space for me to release all those honest thoughts. I also really love pen and paper and these kind of tangible items. And handwriting and calligraphy. There's so many digital tools out there today, but I keep coming back to the notebook. It's simple, it's slow, and it's really grounding for me. I don't quite know what things I'll make in the future, but for now I'm using this journal as a launching point. For creative projects, I'm big about making the most with what you have. Sure, there are tools that you will need here and there, but for a lot of projects, you can do quite a lot with what's already in your home. And so for starting this journal, I've committed to only using the things that I already have in stock. Having limits can be incredibly freeing. So here is the list of supplies I'm using to start my bullet journal. A piece of scratch paper to test pens and practice ideas on. A notebook, which is the most obvious piece, and I'll show you more details about it later. A pink highlighter. One of my favorite ballpoint pens with black ink. A pencil and eraser. A ruler. A purple highlighter. Gouache paint with different size brushes, and a water bowl. I'm using some additional paper with a watercolor pattern that I painted earlier this month. Scissors, glue stick, and not pictured here, but I also use a penny as a stencil. A final tool I'm using is a sheet of notes I took and mock layouts that I drew out as I watched videos of other bullet journalists. The beautiful thing about a bullet journal is that it is completely customizable to fit your journal's purpose. If you want to learn more, I encourage you to check out the YouTube channel simply called Bullet Journal by Ryder Carroll, who is the original creator of the whole concept. I do want to share more about the notebook that I'm using. I found it in Japan a couple of years ago at Muji, and I fell in love with it at the store. It just felt great the way it felt in my hands, and it lays open like flat like that so impressively, and the lines in it are horizontal with a subtle vertical dot grid to create like that square grid, and I'm just so excited to use this notebook. Alright, so here we go, breaking in the first page. The first page can often be really intimidating. Kind of feels like taking a leap. This is my standard calligraphy font that I've been working on over the last few years. I've done it over and over in journals and in my school notes, and it is just so fun to do. My favorite calligraphy tool is actually just a basic highlighter the shape of highlighters allows for a lot of versatility in the thickness and thinness of lines, so I think it works great. I like to add some dimension to the letters by shading in the top half of the letters, and that also gives me a chance to polish and touch up on different parts. To complete the look, I like to take a ballpoint pen and add a line for a shadow along the left side of the letters or numbers. I wanted to be sure to mention that I did not start this journal on January 1st, which is often the ideal time or perceived ideal time to start a bullet journal. I started on January 18th, and it really is never too late to start. The first page is completed, which is a huge milestone, and we move on to the next spread, which is the index. I don't really know how to use this spread yet. It's essentially like a table of contents. I do think that it could be a really useful spread. There are some fancy bullet journaling techniques such as threading and creating collections, and I'm curious about how those work. For now, I'm just going to write the heading, leave it blank, and I'll figure it out later. The next section is called the future log, and I'm first practicing on a scratch sheet of paper and playing with different ways that this section could look. It's a calendar that's condensed and in list form and allows for this wide perspective view of the year in just 2 spreads. It's a space to write down events such as birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, events that are pretty set in stone. I was really careful with this section because I think I will be referring back to it a lot. I will say that this spread took a lot of time and a lot of patience to write down all these numbers and make sure that the columns were equally spread out, but I really think it is worth it. I'm actually enjoying the process. It's quite meditative. It also makes me feel a lot of gratitude. As I write down all of these numbers one by one, I think to myself, wow, look at all these days ahead of us that we get to experience. The next section has 3 parts to it, and in my head I started calling it the time triad, and I kind of like that. This section started with a vision board, a place to think and dream about the future, and then I just wanted to keep going. I wanted a space to also talk about the past and also the present. Lately, I've been fascinated by these 3 dimensions of time. I've been wanting to build healthier perspectives in the way I view myself in these areas. Questions I've been asking myself include, how do I dream and plan for the future? What narratives am I telling myself about the past? And who do I want to show up as in the present? So those are some pretty huge questions, but I'm just using this area to explore those questions in a lighter way. The vision board is pretty self-explanatory. The page about the past gives me space to write a condensed summary about things that happened last year. I'll probably do it in list form. For the page about the present, I'll write about what a normal and routine day looks like right now. For example, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so I'm spending a lot of time at home. As I start this new notebook, I really like having this time triad section to frame how I am entering into this new year. I am now writing out the final section of this new notebook setup, which is a quarterly view. I'm just going to put the first quarter for now, which I'm counting as January, February, and March for the winter months. And this is a place to put goals and ideas that take longer than a month and are a better fit for a 3-month view. As I've been researching bullet journals and working on making my own, I've found that one of the biggest questions to ask is, with a certain idea or goal, what is the time frame that I want to use? If I want to track a new habit, do I log it in a weekly, monthly, or quarterly format? Again, the beautiful thing about a bullet journal is that it is completely customizable, and you can adjust it and change it along the way as you learn new techniques that work better for you. Now the structure of the journal is all in place. Now we get to have some fun and add some paint and pretty details. At school a couple of years ago, our class did Secret Santa for Christmas, and I got this wonderful gouache paint set from a classmate. I love this paint. It has a lot of versatility to it. If you add a lot of water, it can be used kind of like watercolor paint. If you don't use much water, it can be really thick and opaque, and it's just so fun to play with. I'm moving my way backwards here, so I'm starting with the quarterly spread that I just finished, and will end with the first page of the notebook. On future log spreads, I saw other bullet journalists add color to where the weekends are. I thought that was a great idea as it allows a view of the different weeks. Originally, I was just going to add a little bit of color to the future log, but I'm not happy with it, so I keep going. A penny is the perfect size to make these little circles. I think I'll come back to this future log often throughout the year, so I want it to stand out. I do that by adding a border to the top of the pages. Even after those additions, I still don't really like it and I'm getting frustrated, so I do some experimenting. So here's one of the greatest tips about journaling. If you don't like something, cut out some paper that you like, glue it in, and see what happens. So I finally absolutely love it, and I actually really like it way more than the original plan. And so I finish it off by rewriting the letters of the months again. Now we arrive back where we started, and I add my final paint details. The journal setup is complete, and now I'll take it to a new location with some beautiful flowers to do the flip through. As this video comes to an end, I have one question for you. Is there something you are beginning or want to begin? I wish you the best in whatever that is.